It's going to be Michigan, Alabama in the college football playoff. Rose Bowl, 5 p.m. Eastern, just as the sun comes down in the second half over those mountains in Pasadena, California. Michigan and Alabama, the final year of the 4-team CFP. It's kind of poetic, but Michigan probably get the toughest matchup they could have gotten, as Alabama is on a big-time winning streak ever since they lost to Texas the second week of the season. Michigan, though, is favored by 2.5 points. It's a low over and under. These are not high-power offenses. Think the other game, Texas-Washington, that's a 63.5 point, right? 63.5 point over-under. This one, 45.5. Michigan definitely needs to bring their A game. This can't be like 2021 where maybe they didn't have a chance against Georgia, or 2022, which I think, and I think a lot of people think, that Michigan overlooked that TCU team and got down early and kept getting down on from there, end up losing the game 51-45. Let's get into the questions. Bill Graves with the first question. Use hashtag Michigan. You will get on the show if you're watching live. If you're watching after the fact, we're going to put this out on Monday or Tuesday on the channel. Says, would you let Mike Sainristil, the Big Ten title game MVP, spy the Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe or someone else? It's a good question. Off just the top of my head, I think it's one of the better options that Michigan has. I think against Ohio State, I thought Mike Sainristil, he should be the guy to cloud Cade Stover, like the tight end, the second best option for Ohio State quarterback Kyle McCord. But in this case, probably Mike Sainristil, but I also think Brad Moore could be a really great option as well. I think Brad Moore, if he stays next year, he could actually switch positions and end up being Michigan's new Mike Sainristil, like that nickel cornerback. They also can play safety or move around, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it'd be Mike Sainristil, maybe Rod Moore. A good question coming from Bill Graves. And we have a ton of analysis. This is our instant reaction mailbag. We have a ton of analysis of this game as we go on through the month of December. Will Michigan win the national title? If you're a fan of an opposing team, just shut off this video. If you're a fan of Michigan, join me and just comment yes. Give me a Y for Yoder for yes. I can't wait for the Rose Bowl. Michigan, Alabama. Let's go, baby. I'm just getting pumped, Jack. I'm getting pumped. I want to headbutt this helmet. Let's go. All right. Count me yes. Michigan, Alabama. The Wolverines a 2.5 point favorite in the college football playoff semifinal in the Rose Bowl. Josh Sherwood, my man, longtime viewer, longtime contributor to the show. One more year fun. Bring back JJ and the Don. I mean, that's what it's got to be focused on. And maybe even Zach Zinter, right? Last year it worked for Zinter and Trevor Keegan and Blake Corum, right? Blake Corum coming off an injury, just like Zach Zinter is. Zinter doesn't want to, lose his draft status, which is the second-round pick probably, because of this injury. He comes back next year, right? Get some insurance, get himself $500K. I would love it. Zinter, the Don, right? Roman Wilson could come back as well. There's a lot of guys, of course. Junior Colson, J.J. McCarthy, et cetera, et cetera. So I would love to see it. Those have got to be the focus. Now, if Michigan does not, get a return from J.J. McCarthy, it's going to be really strange. We'll talk about it here in a few minutes about the portal and the transfer portal options and the timing of J.J. McCarthy's potential announcement. Kevin Miles coming in with the chat. He says, do you think the long break until the game will hurt Michigan? Probably. Since Jim Harbaugh's first season, 2015, against Florida, I think the final score was 41-10. They have just looked lackluster in every single bowl game they've been in, right? They were down against Florida State in 2016. They looked like junk against South Carolina in 2017, I think it was. 2018, they didn't even show up against Florida. 2019, they were probably overmatched against Alabama. And then the last 2 years in the college football playoff, it was not good enough to beat Georgia, didn't come prepared against TCU. I think Michigan and Jim Harbaugh have a lot of questions to answer in this game. You beat Alabama. You erase a lot of the naysayers, the doubters, just like you did against Ohio State, just like you did against Penn State. Now you've got to do it against a team from another conference, and that is Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Guys, we are presented by Prize Picks. I've got some Prize Picks going on for college or NFL Sunday. Now, if you're watching this later in the week, these were my picks for Sunday. So if I missed them, make sure to roast me. But why I love Prize Picks, it's you versus the numbers. You can mix and match sports. You can go NBA, NFL, college football, NHL, et cetera, et cetera. All you got to do is pick more or less on the stats they put in front of you for players that you want to make predictions for. They've got a reboot policy, so if a player gets injured in the first half of a game, doesn't come back in the second half, he's taken out of your entry. The entry lives on at Prize Picks. Here are my picks for NFL Sunday. I got Russell Wilson. I'm going more than 224.5 passing yards. Coleridge Stroud more because this team kind of, they're okay, but he passed a lot. I don't root for him, but I'm rooting for him to go more today, 264.5 yards. And then I think Brock Purdy might throw himself an interception against that Eagles defense. Big time matchup. The matchup maybe of the year in the NFL this afternoon. 49ers versus the Eagles. If you watch this later in the game, did Brock Purdy throw an interception? Was he big beep Brock or not? Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. You just pick 2+ players all the way up to 6. If you pick 6 picks and you get them all right, 25 times your money just by picking more or less on the stats that they put in front of you. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS for up to $100 first deposit match. Toss that in the live chat when you get a chance, Jack. prizepicks.com/CLNS. If you're watching live, click it in the live chat. Support the show. If you're watching on demand on Tuesday, make sure you go down in the comments description of this video. Get going with Prize Picks and get going with chatsports.com, prizepicks.com/CLNS. John M.F. Blaze. This is the same one? It was another one. Another $2 super chat from John Blaze. What are we doing, John? What are we doing? We're going to Houston together. John Blaze, that's a second $2 super chat. We got the leaderboard updated. We'll update that in a second. He says, FSU is screwed. Oh, my gosh. Who are the players that Bama look up for? Jack, we've got that, right? We've got our preview stuff there. So let's just walk through the offensive players because defense, it's plug and play for Alabama, right? This is a strong Alabama defense, but they got pushed around against Texas, okay? They got moved in the fourth quarter against Texas. I think Michigan can do the same. But over the last 6 weeks, it's all started with this guy here. It's Jalen Milroe, right? He did not start the season. He was not the guy, or he got benched after one game, right? That's what it was. And they brought in the transfer from Notre Dame. But Jalen Milroe, who to me looked no better last year than Alex Orji, right? He's a big, big body who could run a lot, maybe throw once in a while. His stats have really turned around. 65.5 completion percentage, 23 touchdowns. So more touchdowns, considerably more now than J.J. McCarthy. Around the same passing yards as J.J. McCarthy. Michigan needs to spy him, and they need to force him to make mistakes. He's thrown 6 picks, which is not a ton, but at least he does make some mistakes. Get that defensive line pressure on him. Michigan can shut down, which is emerging. Frankly, I think he can make a good case for the Heisman at this point. He's not going to win it, but I think he could make a good case for the Heisman. Now on the side of the running back, Jase McClellan, big-time recruit a few years ago. All right, 803 yards in the year, 6 touchdowns. He is nowhere in the stratosphere of someone like a Blake Corum at this point. But when has Alabama ever had a running game that is not, formidable, something that you don't want to play? That's not great. I think Alabama's running game has always been awesome, and Jase McClellan is certainly continuing on there. Now, over the last few games, he had 66 yards against Auburn. He's only had 200-yard games this year. That was against Tennessee at home on October 21st, and then he had 100 yards in maybe their biggest game prior to Georgia, 17 carries, 105 yards against Ole Miss on September 23rd. So keep an eye out for him. Him and Milroe make a nice little read option combo. The wide receivers, Jermaine Burton, Isaiah Bond, and Armari. I can't remember how to pronounce his last name. What do you think, Jack? Knee-block? Knee-block, yeah. I've heard him say it. Yeah, I know. So they're good, but this isn't the Alabama team of years past. So the teams from Alabama that went on the run in the post-losing to Auburn in 2013 era, right? You kind of had those 2 quarterbacks, Jacob Coker, et cetera. Then it was 2016, you had Jalen Hurts, right? He's starting for the best team in the NFL right now. Then you had Tua, starting for one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the AFC right now. Then you had Mac Jones, starting quarterback for the New England Patriots right now. That run of 6 years or so changed what we think Alabama football was. This team, in my opinion, goes back to what Alabama football was 2007 when he took over the job to 2014-15 kind of time frame. I think that's frankly what it was. That 2015 team that won the national title, right? They lost to Ohio State in 2014. They came back in 2015, beat Deshaun Watson, beat Clemson in the national title game with a no-name quarterback, a Heisman Trophy winner, Derrick Henry. Although they don't have Derrick Henry on this team, that's what this team reminds me of. McCarthy's dad. Is that J.J. McCarthy's dad? Whoa, what kind of photo is that, Jack? A little risque there. Talk to me about the transfer portal. Who are we going after? We saw this question earlier. I flagged this for Jack. We had these built for a show later in the week. So let's talk transfer portal right now, right? We know who Michigan's playing. They're playing Alabama. Let's talk transfer portal. If JJ leaves for the NFL, right, we got to get a transfer portal quarterback. You've got to get the highest ranked transfer portal quarterback that you can get. People have been saying to me on Twitter all the time, in the comments on YouTube all the time. I'm kind of perplexed by it. What about Alex Orji? Alex Orji looks good. Alex Orji, in my opinion, is not a quarterback for Michigan. Just pushed across his ad across for Michigan in 2024 or 2025. If his role is being what he's become right now, which is kind of a wildcat quarterback, right? Inside the 5-yard line guy every once in a while, mix it up. He is not a passer that can be a starting quarterback. I don't think Jaden Denegal is as well. So Michigan's replacement for J.J. McCarthy, in my opinion, is not on this roster. We'll go through some candidates here for Michigan's transfer quarterbacks, but did want to ask you guys to subscribe as we were at 29,560 subscribers here in the Michigan Football Report, youtube.com/Michigan TV. Let's get to 30,000 subscribers ASAP. Keep supporting the show. Let's get all kinds of videos in the month of December. It's going to be one of the funnest months you're ever going to have as a Michigan football fan, leading up to what I think will be January 8th, Michigan versus either Washington or Texas, national championship game, Houston or bust. Top transfer quarterbacks that Michigan can, should, and I think hopefully will, at least a few of them, pursue. Cameron Ward. He's been out there for a while. Washington State, they're lost their coach, right? And he's going to Michigan State. And he wants to get out. He wants to go do Washington State did not lose their coach. Oregon State lost their coach. But nevertheless, Cam Ward has been a hell of a player. How about Will Howard? He beat TCU last year. He is an absolute baller. He just, nothing hurts, nothing, phases Will Howard. I would love to have Will Howard at Michigan. He might think he's going to lose his starting job. They've got a top 100 recruited Kansas State quarterback who's going into his third year, Avery Johnson, not the basketball player, but nevertheless, Will Howard would be somebody I would absolutely love to come to Michigan. How about Riley Leonard? Same class as J.J. McCarthy. He's going to transfer, take a look around. DJ Ungalungale, maybe. We'll see. He was a 5-star quarterback, Clemson, Oregon State. They lost their coach, of course, is to Michigan State. And then Dante Moore, top 5 player in the 2023 recruiting class out of Detroit. Michigan offered him the summer after his 7th grade year. He decided to go to Oregon. Then he was at UCLA on signing day. Now, after less than a year on campus at UCLA, he is in the transfer portal. His dad has said in the last couple of days that Michigan is a school that he loves and is right up there. I think he might come down to Michigan, Oregon, maybe an SEC school for Dante Moore. Would love to get him if J.J. McCarthy decides to go pro. Because remember, we've also got Jaden Davis, who will be a true freshman. Don't want to start him as a true freshman, but be a nice 1-year stopgap to have somebody else. Dante Moore might be 2 years, and then have Jaden Davis start as a 2nd or 3rd year player. A couple other players in the transfer portal that Michigan could look at, but I don't know if these guys are really going to move the needle. I don't think they're championship quarterbacks. Tyler Van Dyke at Miami. He got over his Josh Gaddis experiment from 2022. Looked a little bit better this year. Then he got hurt. He is transferring. And then Will Rogers looked phenomenal. Go back and look at Will Rogers' numbers in 2021 and 2022 under Mike Leach. Leach passed away in the offseason. Their offense never looked the same this year. Now Will Rogers is looking for one last chance to prove he's an NFL-level quarterback going into the 2024 season. But JJ's timing is the key here. McCarthy has got to at least let Michigan know, and maybe let the public know, if he is heavily leaning one way. If JJ knows, no matter what, I am going pro, I think it'd be the best interest of everyone. Maybe not himself. It won't be in his best interest, but it won't be his worst interest, though. Let Michigan know. Put them in a position, because Michigan only has from December 3rd to January 2nd, this transfer portal window is open. If you don't sign, you got to stick in there, wait until April for the next transfer portal. So this quarterback potentially that Michigan brings in would miss spring practice, which I think would be a big disadvantage for Michigan long term. So if JJ knows he's going, announce now. If he doesn't know he's going 50-50, let Michigan know so they can adequately tell these transfer quarterbacks, maybe they have to risk it. We might have to sit for a year. Dante Moore might be willing to do that. Of course, Riley Leonard and DJU and these other guys would not. So it kind of depends on where Michigan's going to let things shake out, with the next quarterback, depending on what J.J. McCarthy is going to do and when he's going to let Michigan or the NFL know his future. Where will J.J. play in 2024? Let me know either in the live chat or down in the comments, Michigan or the NFL. I want to know from you guys. I'm looking at the live chat. I see you guys. I see you, A. Schraub. John Blaze is building a house out of Michigan helmets. That's absolutely right. We should update that super chat leaderboard too. I'm sure John Blaze is right up the top with Steve Richard, with our guy as well, Big D, on there. Type M, type N. Let me know where J.J. McCarthy will play in the future in 2024. Speaking of Steve, our guy Steve coming in with the hashtag Michigan. Who will be the MVP of Alabama versus Michigan? Let's see. Let's forecast forward. Yod Stradamus. Let's kind of think. I'm going to go J.J. McCarthy. I'm going to go J.J. McCarthy. He's going to be the MVP for Michigan. I know he has it in him. I know he can make the passes. I know Michigan's playbook has it. And I know Jim Harbaugh wants to win this game. So I don't think this is a game against Alabama and Michigan is going to come in unprepared. I think they're going to put something together to let J.J. McCarthy loosen up this Alabama defense downfield. Maybe Blake Corum gets the touchdowns to the 5-yard line, etc. I think it's going to be J.J. McCarthy is my pick. If it's not McCarthy, how about Mike Sainristil? MVP of the Big Ten Championship game. Been making plays every single game for this program. One of the great Wolverines of all time. JJ, if it's an offensive performance, if it's a better defensive performance, give me some Mikey Sainristil. Some guy, he sent a $30 super chat. He's gone. Michigan's going to beat Bama. Going to be a close game, 35-27. Both defenses, yes, in the SEC title game, looked really good. The offense for both teams kind of stunk at times. The first half, they were okay. The second half, they really stunk in a lot of ways. So I kind of approach this the same as the Ohio State game for Michigan. I think Alabama's defense is going to be strong. Michigan's defense is going to be strong. That game was 30-24. If anyone gets over 30 points this game, I think they're going to win. I don't see any scenario where it's like 45-42 or some of these crazy scores, 51-45 that we saw last year from Michigan TCU. So I like the score prediction, 35-27. I would go right now. This is an early one. I'm just going to make a prediction right now. I'm going to go 24-17. Michigan is my early score prediction. Dan from the UP coming in with a question. He says, other than QB, what are positions of need in the transfer portal? Jack, we've got that graphic of my positions of need for our show next week, right? Let's toss that up. Good question. Timely question. Transfer portal gets going tomorrow, baby. It's going to be transfer portal palooza. I can't wait. Here's the positions, right? Wide receiver. No way. This is outside of J.J. McCarthy, right? If McCarthy, it's just a one person. If McCarthy leaves, you need one. It's just very simple. Outside J.J. McCarthy, wide receiver. Like we see at Samaj Morgan. Tyler Morris, right? Darius Clemens is in there. But if Roman Wilson goes pro, he could come back, but I think he's gone. Cornelius Johnson has to go. What does Michigan's wide receiver group look like with or without J.J. McCarthy next year? I think that's one they've got to focus on. Linebacker. Junior Colson going pro? Maybe. Michael Barrett's gone, so you're losing one. Ernest Housen then moves into a starting role. I'm just not convinced Jimmy Rolder or anybody else below him has made enough of an impact this year to confidently think that Michigan has a strong two deep next year. And a player like Housen, star as a freshman in Nebraska, his first year as a true freshman, coming over to Michigan, that could be somebody to pursue, or a fourth or fifth year guy from another school who just wants to play for a big-time championship-winning program like Michigan. Offensive line, okay, Zach Sinter, Trevor Keegan, could they come back, etc. But Michigan brought in 3 transfers this year. They should continue on that offensive line pipeline. Running back, Corum is going to leave. Ladon could leave. Cole Cabana, we'll see what we got of him. Benjamin Hall did nothing this year. I don't know if Khalil Mullins is a championship running back now. There is a running back for Florida, Travis Etienne's little brother, that a lot of people rumoring out there could be favoring Michigan. And then cornerback. You should get Josh Wallace back next year. You should get Will Johnson back next year. I think Michigan needs to continue to improve that depth. Like we saw Jaden McBurrows yesterday, but someone else, even if he's not a starter, at cornerback could be a good move for Michigan. Guys, Michigan is in the college football playoff. Michigan's won the Big Ten championship again for the 3rd straight year, and they beat Ohio State again for the 3rd straight year. Give me a go blue in the comments. Just do it in the live chat, in the comments. Go blue. Michigan, Alabama, Rose Bowl. And ooh, look at that. I can see my eyes. Ooh, see me? Rose Bowl coming up on January 1st in Pasadena. Should be an absolutely glorious affair to be at or to watch on TV. My guy, Bill Graves, coming in with that hashtag Michigan. Do you think JJ is waiting for Harbaugh's NFL decision? I don't want to discredit that. And I think it would be so disingenuous and disheartening for those two's relationship, which has gone back now 5 years and 4.5 since JJ committed to Michigan in May 11th, 2019. If JJ was to come back, under the understanding that Harbaugh's coming back, and then Harbaugh does his February, run in with the NFL and ultimately takes the job. College football players have till January 15th to decide. NFL players, right? Remember 2 years ago, Jim Harbaugh was interviewing into February. It's a longer process. So I hope those guys have a conversation. I hope they would have that kind of relationship. If it's dependent on that, then JJ needs to ask him straight up. And if he leaves, JJ should let people know, hey, he promised me, he didn't. But I highly doubt. I think if Harbaugh were to come back, it would improve. I think actually, just thinking about it more often. Either way, what Harbaugh does, it would help JJ lean either way a little bit, not for sure. But what I don't want to see happen is Harbaugh tell him one thing and the other, JJ act on that, and Harbaugh does the opposite of what he tells JJ McCarthy. How about this question for you guys? I see you, Joanne. I see you, Giuseppe. I see you, Daniel, Kevin, Angela, in the live chat. Answer me this question. Which is a better Michigan football team? 1997. Beat Colorado at the beginning of the year. Beat Baylor. Beat Iowa. Went in and beat number 1 Penn State. Beat Ohio State. Beat Washington State in the Rose Bowl. Or this 2023 Michigan football team with 6 of the 11 on the first team all Big Ten offense, and then the defense that I think could potentially be the best in the history of the Big Ten. Give me a 2023 or a 1997 in the comments or in the live chat. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Michigan headed to the college football playoff against Alabama, and we'll be covering it all month long.